This just in. Tucker Carlson is out at Fox News.
Is out at Fox News. The right-wing network just announced the two have parted ways.
Tucker Carlson was sowing doubts about the U.S. election results just up until the last few weeks. So it's possible that there was a relation.
Nope. I think Tucker Carlson wanted more money, realized how much he's worth, saw the Steven Crowder deal, saw all of these other dudes in independent media getting like 50 milli contracts, noticed that he could probably demand way more. And then Fox News was like, no, we're in the pocket for 787 million. And, a lot of it will be covered by insurance, but that insurance premium is going to be baked in. So he most likely was like, I want a lot of money. And then they were like, no, you can't have a lot of money. So he was like, okay, well, fuck you. I'm out then.
Relationship there, but really big news. And I should also point out that they've stuck with him really through quite a lot. He has promoted conspiracy theories about the vaccines. He has said things that are just blatantly anti-immigrant. He has, like I said, promoted doubt about the 2020 election. They have stuck with him throughout all of this. So, really shocking news that now he's no longer with the network.
Yeah, the big question, as you say, is why now? Fox has let their number one people go before. I mean, Bill O'Reilly, they pushed out when he was number one.
Yeah, Bill O'Reilly was pushed out when he was number one for like a biblical amount of sexual harassment. Like, Bill O'Reilly is responsible for killing someone. You know what I mean? Like, for stochastic terror against an actual doctor that used to perform abortions. He used to call him Tiller, the baby killer. And then someone literally went to George Tiller's house and fucking killed him with a gun, with an assault rifle. And that didn't stop Bill O'Reilly's fame. If anything, it probably, Fox News doubled down, basically. Oh, was it at church? I thought it was at his house. That makes it, okay. Shot after church service while getting lemonade. LA Times says Tucker Carlson's exit is related to the discrimination lawsuit filed by Abby Grossberg, the producer Fox fired last month. Carlson's senior executive producer Justin Wells has also been terminated, according to people familiar with the matter. No way. 2 reasons why people only get fired at Fox News or let go at Fox News. And it's not because they're doing too much devastating white supremacist propaganda. Let me explain to you. 1, you are creating legal complications that they cannot handle in-house with arbitration as they normally would, right? That was the famous Bill O'Reilly example. Or you want too much money. And the you want too much money oftentimes is settled because they will just fucking put entire stacks of moolah in front of you and light it on fire because they have a tremendous amount of money regardless. If it's not the money side, which I still think it could be, because this is happening during I don't know. I don't know enough about what's going on behind the scenes. I have no idea. Fox News is famously tight-lipped about shit like this. They operate like an old school media company and not like Twitter, which is a leaky ship that you can immediately get all of the latest and greatest information in detail from. There haven't been a lot of Slack channel communication that you can access with respect to Fox News and the internal communication. So I don't know.
We talk about this happening in the wake of the Dominion decision. Now, it's interesting with Carlson, which is that it wasn't his show or his shows that Dominion was suing over necessarily for promoting false news. It was some of his behind-the-scenes stuff that was legally problematic for Fox, but he wasn't one of the people who helped get them in trouble with Dominion, was he?
No, he wasn't the main culprit that really spawned this lawsuit. But, it's not to say also that other hosts could not be eventually leaving the network as well. I mean, this raises a lot of questions about whether the network potentially is trying to at least rein in some of the more extreme people on the channel. I mean, of course, Tucker Carlson, the most extreme probably on that channel.
This is the narrative. The prevailing narrative, it seems, is that Tucker Carlson, who was leaving Fox News, and there's more, this is breaking. There's more information coming out about this all the time. And one of the things that I guess LA Times and the New York Times are reporting on is that Tucker Carlson is accused of promoting a hostile work environment. But this seems so... Carlson's former head of booking, Abby Grossberg, said that male producers regularly use vulgarity to describe women and frequently make anti-Semitic jokes. But really? That's what fucking Fox News would fire you over? What a bunch of pussies, dude. I'm actually surprised. No shot. This doesn't make any sense. This is their cash cow, boys. It's not like Fox News is fucking woke. What do you mean? This is written like a person who has never watched Tucker Carlson. You know what I mean? It's like that makes no sense. I mean, I've often talked about how like these are still, everyone's a liberal at the end of the day. Fox News is a neoliberal institution. So ultimately, like, yes, they will do certain things that you would find strange. Like Matt Walsh will always misgender people. Fox News, on the other hand, I mean, Tucker Carlson might misgender people every now and then, but Fox News is an institution as a style guide, and they will usually not misgender like a trans person deliberately, other than the editorial staff, which might take like, some editorial independence. So like, there is weird things like that. Obviously, that would never cause someone to get fired, though. You know what I mean? I just, it seems very, very strange. It seems very strange that this is happening in the way that it is. This is what Yashar Ali said. Totally complete shock of Fox News in response to Tucker Carlson announcement. The decision to fire Tucker Carlson came straight from Fox Corp chairman Rupert Murdoch, according to people familiar with the situation who were not authorized to comment. Murdoch said to be concerned over Carlson's coverage of the January 6th insurrection at the Capitol, where the host has promoted the conspiracy theory that it was provoked by government agents. Tucker Carlson has called Ray Epps, a Texas man who participated in the storming of the Capitol but did not enter the building, an FBI plant without any evidence. Epps was interviewed on 60 Minutes where he said he has been subjected to death threats as a result of Carlson's statements about him. The FBI also told 60 Minutes that Epps never worked for them. The decision is not related to the $787.5 million settlement. Benjamin Norton is absolutely correct on this. Reminder that Tucker Carlson applied to join the CIA, traveled to Nicaragua to support the CIA's fascist Contra death squads, is the son of a head of the CIA propaganda front, I don't know about that part, constantly lobbies for war on China, supports colonialist Monroe Doctrine in Latin America. In 2006, white supremacist neocolonialist Tucker Carlson said, Iraq is a crappy place filled with a bunch of semi-literate primitive monkeys. He did say that. I have zero sympathy for them or their culture, where people don't use toilet paper or forks. They can just shut up and obey. While meddling in Brazil, making propaganda for fascist Bolsonaro, Tucker Carlson complained, under Biden, the Monroe Doctrine is no longer enforced, praising the 200-year colonial policy. He also spread new Cold War propaganda, fear-mongering about Cuba. He's also the mainstream figure I know of that advocate for, oh God, these guys are so fucking stupid. Anyone claiming Tucker is anti-war is a useful idiot. He's just a neocon 2.0. The only reason he criticized NATO's war on Russia is because he wants war on China instead. Tucker lamented if Russia ever joined forces with China, American global hegemony would end. Tucker and the far right's anti-war narrative is that Russia is white, capitalist, and Christian, and therefore the West should try to recruit it to wage war on China, which these racist imperialists see as an Asian communist atheistic threat to Western civilization. This part is true. They don't give a fuck about Russia. They think that Russia is another like imperialist power in the West that is actually Christian, just like the good old boys are here in the West. They think Russia is like white enough to be considered Western, especially because they correctly identify that Russia is not a fucking communist nation anymore. So they don't give a fuck. They're like, yeah, these guys are rugged, individualistic capitalists that we put into positions of power. The country is an oligarchy run by our kleptocrats, our Western-facing oligarch kleptocrats that we put in positions of power. As we were reconstructing the USSR to our liking, okay? So why the fuck would we care if they are like, fucking over Ukraine or whatever? They don't give a shit. They think like, oh, and they're also anti-woke, so that's great. Here, let's take a look.
If Russia ever joined forces with China, American global hegemony, its power would end instantly. You'd have the world's largest landmass and largest natural gas reserves allied with the world's largest population and world's largest economy. So a Russia-China axis would be not just more powerful than the United States, but much more powerful. It would have the scale to control a lot of the world's economy and trade routes and raw materials. It could project military force that, posturing aside, we actually don't have the power to stop.
Yeah, I mean, this is like typical neocon anti-multipolarity shit. Like, the most telling Tucker Carlson segment for me was when he did a hit piece on Fidel Castro and specifically highlighted his sending of aid to Angola to help destroy the South African apartheid regime as one of his most evil acts. This is the guy who, according to Glenn Greenwald, was like, routinely defending. What did Glenn Greenwald say about Cuba? He said, objected to regime change efforts in Cuba.
Come on, Professor, why are you making... Look, that's monstrous. He put people in prison for criticizing him. He sent, as you know, a lot of his doctors, an awful lot, to places like Angola and Venezuela to help other revolutions in progress. There's no excuse for that. And here's my meta question. Why does the left make excuses for a monster like Fidel Castro? Why? Come on, Professor, why are you making... Look,
a monster like Fidel Castro? Yes, the answer is because he's fucking hot, dude. That's why, because he's sexy. In all the deranged denunciations of Castro by conservatives and liberals, I've never seen anyone mention his sending of aid to Angola. But Tucker did, as he adores South African apartheid regime. Here is Mandela thanking Fidel personally for helping end that fascist regime. Is this important politics? Yes, I think that the unceremonious separation of the most popular right-wing, nationalist, white nationalist propaganda is being unceremoniously let go from the most successful, most popular news franchise in this country is pretty important. This guy is literally brainwashing your parents every goddamn night. But let's get back to this. Tucker Carlson was also the most deranged, fanatical pusher of neocon military-industrial complex, CIA security state push for a new Cold War against China. He almost single-handedly entered it into the mainstream of the U.S. and pushed liberals to follow suit. I don't agree with that. I don't think Tucker Carlson was single-handedly doing that. But the idea that Tucker Carlson wasn't regularly and routinely fucking agitating against China in the same way that like MSNBC does, in the same way that like everyone does on the liberal side, is true. The China threat, China is the real threat, not Russia. Remember, these guys, and Noam Chomsky has talked about this famously, you can spot a right-wing dove from a mile away for lying to you about their ingenuine takes on war, okay? They're disingenuous. Why? Because they're never anti-war on the principles of being anti-war. They're not anti-war because of humanitarian reasons. They're anti this war. They're anti this war that they consider to be not a good war. There are better wars out there that you could be fighting. That's what usually these guys will do. They'll lie about this. So at this stage, we still don't know why he left Fox News. But now that I've like given you the groundwork a little bit to understand that like all of the pro Tucker Carlson narratives that you're hearing from the media are going to be silly, let's continue.
I think the other question here is it's not just about this defamation case that has already been settled. There's more to come. There's more legal action, Smartmatic and others. And it does make you wonder if this is something to do with that, because it is so abrupt and it doesn't seem amicable at this point. Not with that statement.
That's right. There's a lot more legal.
I don't think this has anything to do with the fucking Smartmatic, Dominion, defamation suits, especially considering that Tucker Carlson's commentary on it was like, if Tucker Carlson is at like an 11 out of 10 when talking about fucking white nationalist agitated propaganda, doing racial agitation, he's at an 11 out of 10. When he was talking about like the election is stolen, he was just doing regular Republican ass shit. And when he was talking about specifically like, Dominion stuff, he strayed away from that regularly. He also privately totally recognized that, these guys were bad for business. Tucker Carlson may be a socialist, but he was a socialist that told Republicans to fight less wars, and he deserves a lot of credit for that. Of course, the Libertarian Party of New Hampshire would come out with some like unhinged ass statements like that and claim Tucker Carlson was a socialist, dude. Tucker Carlson is pretty clearly a socialist. Here's one example of many of Tucker willing to use state violence to redistribute resources. It's fine to like Tucker because he stands up to the regime in a way, if you will, but he's still a socialist. Cleared by Babylon B. You hate to see it. Fox News fires the only reason people watch Fox News. Oh my God. That's literally true, dude. Wait, what? Trump is live today at 9 p.m.? Oh, it caught Trump world by surprise? What the fuck? An intriguing move. Former President Donald J. Trump has decided on the venue for his first public comments about Tucker Carlson's ouster. Newsmax, one of Fox News' major rivals. Trump will appear on the channel at 9 p.m. for an interview with the Newsmax anchor Greg Kelly. That's crazy. I hope this makes people understand, though, like how important this decision is, because like you got literally the former president milking this. You got the former president running content around this. Like, think about how important that shit is, dude. The announcement on Monday that Fox News was parting ways with its top-rated primetime host, Tucker Carlson, stunned people in Donald J. Trump's orbit. The former president himself was surprised by the news, according to a person with direct knowledge, and his eldest son, Donald Trump Jr., who was a close friend of Mr. Carlson's, described the network's decision as mind-blowing. I mean, it is mind-blowing. I think it changes things permanently, Donald Trump Jr. said on the Charlie Kirk Show, adding that Mr. Carlson was once an actual thought leader in conservatism and a once-in-a-generation type talent. The casual news observer would be forgiven for thinking that Mr. Trump and his family no longer had a relationship with Mr. Carlson, given the recent disclosures of the Fox host's scathing private text messages. In early 2021, as Mr. Trump desperately tried to overturn the 2020 election, Mr. Carlson texted a confidant that he hated the president passionately. He also described Mr. Trump as a demonic force. When the texts were released in March, Mr. Trump was wounded and called Mr. Carlson to talk about them, according to a person familiar with the outreach. I do think he will be like gracious to Tucker Carlson because he recognizes his importance as like a propagandist for conservatism. But I do think he might not stop himself and basically hit that like, anyone that comes after Trump loses. Don't come after Trump. You did it. Here's what Charlie Kirk has to say. We got to do a little bit of hogwatch here to see what the conservative ecosystem has like been chirping about. I'm sure people are blaming like the woke left for his firing or some shit, even though it was Fox News that fired him. But let's hear what Charlie Kirk is saying.
Last piece of advice for young people: get married.
Yeah,
Think
get married
small.
and have a ton of kids. I mean, get married when you're too young, have more kids than you can afford, take a job you're not qualified for, live boldly, stop getting high, stop doing anything that blurs your vision or makes time go faster. You're going to die before you know it. Don't waste a second. That's the sin, is living thoughtlessly and wasting time. It's the one thing you can't get back. I've wasted a lot of money in my life. Oh my gosh. I don't care. I don't regret any of it. Every room service meal was worth it. It was fine. But any time that I wasted is really bitter for me.
Yeah, of course he wasted a lot of fucking money. He's been profoundly rich his whole goddamn life.
And so live as fully as you can. And you can't control all this stuff that's going on. You can't control what Google does. And honestly, they're going to win. Like the powers that be will win, at least in the short term. Ultimately, they'll all blow up. But like, we're powerless and hated. I think this myself all the time. Are they going to crush me? Oh yeah. Okay. But in the meantime, I want to experience as fully as I possibly can.
This graph is telling. One of the more extraordinary graphics in the New York Times lengthy profiles of Tucker Carlson. He used to relish debating his guests. The conversation, though, grew strikingly one-sided. Out of the nearly 7,000 guest appearances, about 1,000 of them highlighted in yellow contradicted Mr. Carlson. Each dot represents an appearance. Gray dots are guests who largely agreed with Mr. Carlson. Fox fires Tucker Carlson 5 days after he crossed the red line by acknowledging the TV networks pushed a deadly and ineffective vaccine to please their pharma advertisers. Carlson's breathtakingly courageous April 19 monologue broke two of TV's biggest rules. The content he lambasted obsequious newscasts for promoting jabs. They knew to be lethal and worthless. For many years, Tucker has had the nation's biggest audience, averaging 3.5 million, 10 times the size of CNN. Fox just demonstrated the terrifying power of big pharma. Yeah, I don't think that's the case, man. Tucker Carlson's been doing anti-vaccine propaganda that was significantly more effective than whatever he did on that coverage for, an entire goddamn year. So you're delusional if you think that is the one time. I think that's enough for Tucker Carlson and the speculation surrounding him. We have more to talk about with respect to the firings in the media. We are, of course, referencing Don Lemon. Here is the Fox News coverage on it.
Cheering him on in his future endeavors. Don Lemon also speaking out, writing a statement. Here's part of that. I was informed this morning by my agent that I have been terminated by CNN. I am stunned. So clearly they see this differently. After 17 years at CNN, I would have thought that someone in management would have had the decency to tell me directly. At no time was I ever given any indication that I would not be able to continue to work. I have loved at the network. Kayleigh McEnany.
Yeah, it's quite something. I would just say we saw him take a break briefly for some comments he made, and then here we are.
Here we are.
Incredible commentary. Thank you, guys. So Don Lemon was slated to be let go. If you remember, when he said something about, what's the lady from South Carolina? The Republican woman that's running for Nikki Haley. Don Lemon a month ago basically said Nikki Haley and women in general are not in their prime for, whatever age. Oh, here. Don Lemon regrets saying Nikki Haley is past her prime.
Talk about age makes me uncomfortable. I think it's the wrong road to go down. She says people, politicians or something are not in their prime. Nikki Haley isn't in her prime. Sorry. When a woman is considered to be in her prime in her 20s and 30s and maybe 40s.
Yeah, he said it out loud on TV. That was CNN host Don Lemon saying Nikki Haley, who recently announced a run for president, is past her prime, particularly in response to her saying that politicians over the age of 75 should have competency tests.
I do love this, though. Like when Fox News is like, yeah, he said that. It's like, bro, what do you think your audience thinks about this? You're literally at Newsmax. Do you think your audience fucking thinks that that's like unacceptable to say? Or do you think that they believe that and love that as a matter of fact?